I will be showing you all how to cut layers in a synthetic wig. And these tips that I'm going to show you, and the method and the way that I'm going to show you is going to be crucial for you cutting layers in synthetic straight wigs, synthetic curly wigs, because the same tips apply. However, I am going to take you through a little bit of extras for the straight hair, because everybody wants it to lay flat and not be humpy, and for it to not look like there's any braids or anything underneath. You want it flawless. So I'll be doing more talking than usual. I'll be doing quite a bit of talking in this one. If this sounds like something that interests you, and you're trying to also learn how to cut layers in your synthetic lace wig, whether it's curly or bone straight, in this case silk press straight, then pay attention, take notes. You're going to need your notepad. All right, let's get into it here. All right, so first things first, you are going to need a pair of scissors of some sort. I know y'all been getting nervous, and I've been noticing the numbers been going down when I be bringing up the scissors. I'm not cutting the length. Today we're teaching you how to use these to cut layers in a texture like this. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to also share tips that can also be interchangeably used for straight hair as well as curly. Yeah, because I've had the ultimate pleasure and fun of making the mistakes for both curly and straight hair as far as cutting layers. I done cut too short. I done messed up a wig, and I done been able to fix a wig. And there's some wigs it's like, you know what? Let's just start all the way over. We're not gonna have to do that with this, by the grace of God. Okay. We're not gonna have to do that. All right, you're gonna need a good pair of scissors. Now you can use this with regular scissors. Now regular scissors are gonna be a bit more clunky, so be careful with that. You wanna get shears, baby. Okay, try to make sure you're storing, if you get shears, in a safe place where it does not harm you or anyone else, or anyone else can get to it, especially dear sweet children. Okay, you've got to be careful. All right, because I realize most of my users have babies, precious sweet babies, and so you got to be careful. Sharp objects and children don't go together. Okay. All right. Okay. First thing you want to do is detangle that hair before we get into even cutting. If you're working with a mannequin, you want to make sure, let me do this. You want to make sure that you are facing the wig on the mannequin like this, where everything is evenly proportioned as much as possible. This is what you want to do. Now I'm gonna try to do it this way for y'all's sake, okay? Which means I might have to get close up in this camera a little closer than usual. If you have this on your head, you want to make sure you're looking straight onward, where everything, make sure your hair is sectioned proportionately. So left, right of the wig, and then separate the closure off itself. Separate the back off itself. This is what we're working with. We got 4 sections: closure, left, right, back, and middle. Okay, don't worry about that. We'll fix it. Okay, once we let the hair down, ain't nobody gonna be able to see that. Okay, so I'm gonna face it this way for y'all's sake, so y'all can see better. Okay, which means I have to position myself very differently. So if you bear with me, you're gonna get the most juiciness out of this tutorial on how to layer your synthetic wigs, regardless of whether it's straight and silk is given silk press, or it's given water wave or bundles. Okay, there we go. Now, after you position yourself, whether this is on your head or if this is on the head of a mannequin, section out the left and the right only. You want to braid this out the way. You want to braid this out the way. The top and middle, whatever section of lace, if it has lace, out the way. The middle and back, section that out the way. Plait it out the way. Appreciate you dropping in, Angel. I'm showing you all how to cut layers into a synthetic wig. All right, I might have to face it this way. I'm gonna start on this end because that's the end y'all be able to see. So don't worry. Oh, I ain't getting no good angle. No, I'm gonna make sure to do my best for y'all to get the best angle. You're gonna also need a comb in addition to them scissors, okay? Section it off in 4. Detangle that hair first. Now, you wanna start from bottom to top. Since we're face framing, only you know your face, okay? So, face framing is about from here to here, to the start of your shoulders, to the top of your head, to the start of your shoulders, okay? You feel me? Okay. Mind you, I'm not a licensed professional. I just know how to do most of what licensed professionals know how to do. And I'm just showing y'all what to do. Okay. It's something I've been doing a long time for myself. All right. So, you don't want to cut anywhere higher than your shoulder in terms of the hair length. In fact, the shorter the length is, the higher you're going to have to cut up. That means you have to start here. If this hair on my head, this wig, ended here at the shoulder. It's okay. You can try to be funny, baby. It's all right. I forgive you, and I release you into the complete freedom of my forgiveness. I forgive you, because I know God saw you do that, and he saw the mind frame that you're in when you did that. Yeah. So if you're just joining to this channel, my name is Jessica Be Brave, and I teach people how to smell good all day long, and the bonus is I love Jesus Christ. With that being said, although I started my channel with hair, I also teach about hygiene. You're going to see pedicure on here, nails on here, how to take care of it, all of that. So hey, I'm not limited to hair. That's fire. We just on hair right now because, I mean, I'm making up for lost time. I'm just making up. I'm making up for it. It's fun because I think I was telling y'all that was watching, that was here yesterday or the day before, 1 or 2 days ago. I said, for my hygiene people, I ain't forgot y'all. I ain't left y'all out. I'm not telling. I never tell what I drop. I just drop it. So if you're interested in the hygiene portion, lock in. Hit that button on the top right hand side and hit the all. Right now we on hair. That don't mean I'm doing hair forever. We're doing a mix of everything beauty. I stay right in that arena. Hair, pedicure, nails, hygiene, perfume. That's it. I don't do nothing I ain't even skilled for. And if I do, it's because God let me to share it with y'all. So this stuff is fun. I've been doing hair since I was a teenager. So this whole channel is a mixture of that. When you come here to this channel, you get everything in that arena of hair, pedicure, nails, and hygiene and perfume. I teach you how to use it, just like I teach you how to use wigs. All that stuff. Everything involved that I can think of that God tell me to. So I ain't left y'all hygiene people out. I ain't left y'all out. I know y'all my crew as well. I ain't left y'all out. Okay. Day has been freaking awesome. And that is by the grace of God. I got a lot to be thankful for. And normally when people hear you say that, oh, you mean the material stuff. No, I'm thankful for the stuff that money can't buy. I'm gonna leave it at that and lock in. Now let's go get back focused on this tutorial on how to cut layers in a synthetic wig, whether it's straight or curly. Face framing. You don't want to, with hair that is longer than shoulder length, you don't want to cut anything higher than your shoulder. Why? Because it's just, you're going to have a lot of flyaways with straight hair. With curly hair, you can kind of get away with it and put gel in there or edge control. Yeah. Okay. So with hair this long and it's going to the floor, this is like what, a 20, almost 30, 28, something. It's a bust down. It's very long. And I noticed some of y'all probably been getting nervous every time I've been bringing them scissors around. Now it's finally time to cut it. This will be considered our shoulder length. So we're going to use that as our measurement, as our, I don't know what you call it, but we're going to use that as our measuring ground. The end of the end of the mannequin, the bottom of the mannequin is what we're going to use. So now watch me. And I'm purposely doing this side because I know this is the side that y'all can see. Okay. All right. So we're going to flip this up and out the way because we need it out the way. Make sure all your hair is out the way. Plait it out the way. Hair tie out the way. Get it out the way. Because once you start working on a section at a time, you need that other hair out the way so that way you don't wind up accidentally cutting this. We don't want that. We done did too much work. For those that been here all the way to the end, we've done too much work to be doing that. So since we're using this as our measuring field, you want to start cutting here. Okay, just underneath that. That is how you do face framing layers according to length. You want to cut down, but very slowly down the shaft of the hair. And you want to do a little bit at a time because you need to gauge how this is going to look, whether you're doing a mannequin or yourself. On yourself, you'll be able to see it immediately. On a mannequin, you have to be a bit more careful. Now you see I just cut right underneath where our shoulders would be because the length is longer than the shoulders. It's down my back. Okay, let's lock in here. Now we've done that. Let's do the other side. Okay, the other side you can't yet see. Now, just underneath where this mannequin ends is where we're cutting. Okay, slow and at a diagonal angle. I don't know if this is 45 degrees, y'all, okay? Cut it downwards at an angle. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so now that's what we're dealing with. You can already see the difference with the hair. Okay. Now, what happens if you want layers in the rest of it? Now, you got to be careful with this part. You want to separate about this much from the rest of the wig, from the rest of the hair. The same way you cut just underneath where your shoulders would be here, it's the same way you're going to do when you section this hair off. You can already see where it's better to cut lower than higher when you're cutting layers. I'm going to tell you why. You could fix that. If you cut too high, you can't put that hair back. You see what I'm saying? But if you cut low enough and feeling like, oh, I didn't cut high enough, you could cut up higher to fit your preference of framing your face. That's fixable. That can be fixable. All right, so we're following the same measurement. Cut right underneath just where this mannequin stops. Now we're going to take and do that again. And I'm doing this side on purpose first for y'all to see. We'll cut down and at an angle and slowly. You don't want a blunt cut and go straight across because you're going to mess up your wig. And you want to run it down the shaft of the hair. And you see here, I'm not moving it. We're cutting at an angle. What that's going to do is create layers throughout the wig where it's going to flow very naturally. It's not going to look blunt where you have face framing layers at the front of the hair only, and then throughout it it's just, unless you want that look. I want it to flow very naturally. And then I'm going to section off another section here and do the same exact thing. Just underneath where this mannequin, we're using that as our measuring point as if it's our shoulders. You want to cut just underneath your shoulders if that length of the hair is anything lower than mid-back or it's touching your butt. Start cutting just under where your shoulders are. I'm going to do this again where you can see. Trying to get the best angle for y'all. Cut down diagonally, down the shaft of the hair very lightly. You see that? The hair should not be lining up. It should reflect you cutting at an angle, downwards at an angle. So let's comb it through before we continue, because we needed to get to a certain point. And you can already see the layers that's in it. Now, you should reach a stopping point where now, instead of cutting where your shoulders are, the further back that you go, the lower you should be cutting your layers. What does that mean? So with maybe about stop here, stop about this far. You see where that hair is stopping up there? Stop about that far when you're cutting at your shoulder. Now, as you go back towards the back of the wig, now stop cutting that high. Why? It don't make sense. Plus, it's going to look crazy. Okay. We got the personal questions. Y'all know the OGs know I don't tell my personal business on here. I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone. No comment. No comment. We teach you how to cut layers in hair on a wig. Okay. Now, you want to go lower. You want to go lower with your layers. I almost said bars, but that does not rhyme. Okay. You want to go lower. So first we cut it here. Our first few pieces of the hair, we cut it here. Now, as we go back, further back in the wig, the lower you need to cut your layers. So, and I can already tell I cut it too high when it came to this. So, we'll be fine. All right, so now you want to measure out about 4 inches. So here, 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 here. I'm eyeballing it. I don't use measuring tape, okay? Tyler, I'm gonna need you to chill, my boy. We don't do that perverted stuff. All right. You measure about 4 inches. If this hair is long down to your butt, and I presume it will be, I've never tried this on yet. Shoulder, about armpit. Then you start cutting lower than where your armpit ends. Where does it end? Wherever you, there, okay? Now you're gonna cut the same angle, but use sections of hair. Now I held all of it to show you that as you go back further of the wig cap, that you should be cutting your layers lower, at a lower angle. So we're not cutting this high no more. That won't make sense. If you want to preserve the length of the hair, if you want to keep the length of the hair, then cut lower layers, cut layers. You're still cutting diagonally, but I want you to watch what's going to happen here. You measure about 4 inches out from your shoulder, armpit, or lower, about your waist. If it's waist length or longer, you start cutting just at where your waist starts. Okay. Cutting at an angle. And you don't want to cut all the way through. You want to do this with a light hand. If you're heavy-handed like myself, you're going to have to practice, okay? And you want to carry this almost to the ends of the hair. Almost to the ends. Now, I'm going to say we're going to brush that through. We're going to comb it through. This is also thinning out the wig, but you're keeping the length. If you cut anything higher than your shoulder, then it's just going to be sticking out. And see, I've already made that mistake, cutting it that high. Now, I could fix it if I want to, but I had to buy more hair. See, that's what I'm saying. Be careful. Don't make the same mistake I've made. We're going to cut again. I don't text or talk to people I do not know. All right, measure about 4 inches here of hair. Cut down diagonally with a light hand. This is why you need shears. Now I'm gonna give you some tips if you're using regular scissors, cause I know that not everybody has access to shears. You're talking to a person that before I bought shears, I used regular scissors. So it's possible, but you're gonna have to take a different approach if you don't have shears. And so this is a judgment-free zone. I realize not everybody have shears. Yeah, we not doing that. All right. And you see it's falling really good. This is a good way to, this is a good technique to thin out the hair, but without losing the length. You still keep it. Now, I made this mistake here, but this can be fixed once we go back behind it and curl it. If you're gonna bump the ends. All right. Always detangle, even with you cutting layers in the wig. You still wanna do that. All right, hold on. Still keeping the integrity of the hair. We're still keeping the length of the hair and thinning it out. That's the way you do it. Now, I've never been, like I said, I'm not licensed. I ain't never been in a school like this, but I cut according to my preference and according to how I want things to lay, how I want the hair to fall. If you do that, you will be much better off. Okay, now I'm gonna show it to you again. Now watch what I do when it comes to the ends. We're aiming for not cutting length, but for making it look even without making it look blunt. Okay, so you can see it's a little bit thinned out, and now we've kept the length with this technique. We're just thinning it out, and the ends look really nice as well. Now I'm gonna take you to the other side and show you the technique again. I'm following the same rule like I did before. We did about this much. Now once we start going back further at the back of the wig, you don't want to keep cutting that high, meaning the shoulder length, if we're using that as our measuring point. So now about 4 inches underneath, about the armpit or the start of your waist, then you want to start cutting underneath that. Still section it off, but we're cutting lower this time. That is to preserve the length, but thin it out. I want you to watch. It's about 4 inches from your shoulder. So you got to do those measurements. I'm just, look, I don't really measure much. You have to you have to visually measure it out yourself as for what you want for your face framing layers. And being really careful that you don't cut too high, because if you cut too high, you're going to notice it's going to stick out. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Oh, everything to God. I know some people's like, oh, look, the only reason why I know how to do this stuff is because of trial and error and me not being able to go to stylist, and I had to learn it. I had to learn before YouTube University, okay? So I got my diploma, metaphorically speaking, okay? Before YouTube University, I was doing this. Not necessarily this technique, I was just, okay, let's wing it. Since YouTube University, oh, I've learned a lot. From experimentation, I've learned a lot more with one of those than the other. All right, let me lock in. We are going 4 inches underneath this. You have to measure yourself. Shoulder, start of waist, then cut right underneath where your waist starts with this length of hair. I'm gonna remind you every single time, not cutting the length of the hair, we're shaping it. And we cutting those, we're layering the ends as well. We're just making sure that they're not blunt and they're not split and they're not all over the place. Because if you don't do this, it's gonna snag on something. Who want it? You walking in, the whole shelf catch your wig. What? I had a tree snatch mine. Okay, so only take one time. That's all it should take. I'm telling you this because I love you. Don't make that mistake I did. Don't let a tree snatch it off your head. Okay. Measure about 4 inches down and out from the shoulder. Cut just underneath it at an angle. Cut just underneath that at an angle. Light-handed. If you are heavy-handed or you're nervous about this, you can carry your wig to a stylist. I'm suggesting that as a person that's unlicensed, but know how to do most of what stylists know how to do. Don't risk it, especially if you want to keep the length of the hair. This is the best way to keep the length of the hair. But if you don't trust yourself, go find a stylist and talk to the Lord about it too. Yeah, and maybe practice on some hair you don't care about. You know, maybe an old wig. That's the best way to practice on. Cause then if you ain't gonna never wear the wig no more, you ain't gonna never see a light of day. That's the best thing to practice. Cutting at an angle, but then running it down the shaft of the hair, almost to the ends of the hair. What that's doing is thinning it out, but it's also giving face framing layers, and it's giving it some personality too. That way you don't have it thick and blunt at the ends, and then you don't have it thick with no depth. No personality, no thinning out during the whole length of the hair, from top to bottom, from root to tip. So far we've done that other side. Now we're on this second side. I'm gonna show you what to do with the back. The back is a little bit different. You have to approach that different. Run it down to almost the end of the wig, the ends of the hair. And see, we're still keeping the integrity of the hair, meaning the length of the hair. Bonjour, Yasmina. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Welcome to the live. Teaching how to cut layers in a synthetic wig, and while still maintaining the integrity, meaning the length of the hair and the thickness. You're thinning it out, but you're not thinning out too much. Now I want you to take a look at what we have here. That we've done that process to both. I really feel like this end is a bit more thickums than the other side. And I know it's not just me. All right, so now you're at this point. Before you go to any other section, you want to comb it out to catch any hairs that weren't caught during your first initial comb throughs after cutting layers through each section, within subsection within the whole bigger section. It definitely feels thinner. This one still feels a bit thick. Okay. So we'll keep combing for a little bit until we get it all. We'll get as much as we can. Okay. then the ends also reflect that as well. Your end should look as close to this as possible. The camera just don't do it justice, but no longer split ends. It ain't looking scraggly, ain't looking like I've been pulling on one end more than the other. And for the most part, it's shaped. You want to do this prior to adding heat to the hair, because if you want to curl it or bump the ends, you need to do this first, not after the fact. I just feel like it'd be more effective if you do this first before you go to running your flat iron through it. On low heat, of course. This one, we're going to just try our best to shape it. Get rid of those flyaways, split ends. And yes, and that hair is split ends. It's just frayed. You want them in uniform, not frayed and all over the place. Okay. There we go. Neat, healthy ends. Just takes practice to do that. Mind you, I'm not a licensed professional. Now, what do we do about the back part? Because I know many of you are probably wondering. So let's first let this down. We're going to save the closure for best. For last. We're going to save the best for last. I feel like that needs its own attention on its own. We'll tackle this last. All right, so we've done the sides, the left side, the right side. What do we do with the back? So here's what we want to do. In the same way you lined up your hair on your head or on your mannequin for it to be evenly proportioned. It's the same way you want to do with the back of the wig. So this has risen up so far. Okay. So you've had this section off and waiting for that. And let's undo it. Mind you, I can still smell the shea butter I applied a couple hours ago today. And you want to first unravel the plait, almost said braid, and comb through all of the section first. Now this is very different because you don't want to go too crazy, too ham and cheese and cheddar sandwich with this. You don't want to go too crazy with it, because this has to flow with the left and the right hand side with both sides of the wig. You still want to keep the integrity, the length of the hair. So and them ends should be looking nice and healthy as well. Okay. I'm going to section that off. One section at a time. That's the only way to do it that I recommend. That's the best way to do it. So we're not cutting anywhere up high in the back, because the back has to give what it's supposed to give. You want to make sure you're within the last 4 inches of the hair. So if this falls just above your butt or at your butt, it's butt length, waist length. Measure about 4 inches. I'm just measuring what I think it looks like 4 inches, okay? You want to cut diagonally, only at that length. So once I do this, I'm going to use it and set and put it side to side to measure the rest of the section. If that don't make sense to you, I want you to watch me, okay? This is about 4 inches. This is the only part in the back you need to cut, because if you're cutting the hair in the back, it's going to show enough look crazy. And they're going to be sitting up there like kind of laughing at you. And then you're going to have to either choose to laugh with them or walk away and forgive them. I suggest you do the latter. 4 inches to the end. Do not cut any higher than that. And I say this as a person that's not licensed, but just know how to do most of what licensed professionals know how to do. This way you keep maintaining the integrity of the hair in the back section. But you're also not having to look crazy where, why short pieces up there? No. Okay, so we have this. We've cut it. We've cut it. Now we're going to use this as a measuring stick against the rest of the pieces. That's to keep the length of the hair in the back. The back should look, I'm a person that I feel that the back of the hair shouldn't be cut too high in layers unless that's what you want or the hair is shoulder length. Let's measure this again. About 4 inches from the bottom, right there, from the ends of the hair. And we're just doing that, cutting at an angle, light-handed. Keep that same amount of light pressure. There we go, almost to the end. And right now it looks kind of choppy, but once you comb it, it's going to look like somebody's head full of hair that we just ran through a silk press. It's going to naturally flow. That's what it should be giving. Nice textured silk press. Now when you're doing curly hair, you should take the same approach, but cut lower than you normally would for curly hair, because curly hair, the texture kind of makes up for you making mistakes, but that don't mean you should be purposely making the mistakes, you feel me? Try your best not to. Practice is going to make you better. Okay. Some shorter ends, but you see how it's laying really nice and it's flowing like silk? It should be doing that. Always detangle before you do your next section. Once you section it off. Detangle, style, add product, then detangle right after. It gets rid of any shedded hair since we've been cutting it. Okay, there we go. And get yourself a hair pile somewhere over here in front of you, away from the hair, so that way you're not combing it right back into your wig and messing stuff up. Having to do double the work. Who want to do that? I don't want you doing 2 times the work. I'm telling you this because I love you. Get yourself a hair pile while you're doing stuff like this. Put all the hair you've been shedding and cutting away and layering in one pile. A couple feet away from you. Okay, so we're on another section. We're measuring it out against our first section. And this really looked like somebody's silk press hair. Okay. Take that, toss that into that hair pile where all the hair we've been cutting is. And we take and we just run that comb through it. Taking another section. Appreciate you, appreciate you. Measuring about 4 inches out from the hair ending. I feel like in the back section, that's as far as you need to cut. 4 inches from where the hair ends and 4 inches from where the hair stops. Because if you cutting it high, it's gonna look crazy. Ask me how I know. I done made a mistake. I don't want y'all making that mistake. And you see some sections I'm doing really thin because I'm just trying to maintain the length and keep the integrity of the hair. Okay, measure about 4 inches. from where the hair ends, from where the hair stops. Smaller pieces, you just have to cut at a diagonal, but stop sooner. You can't run that. You can't run them scissors and them shears down to the end. The smaller your pieces are. So that's why I suggest about an inch of thickness. Work in subsections of your bigger section. I'm going to detangle it because it is kind of acting off a little bit. Okay. 4 inches from the end, from 4 inches from when the 4 inches from where the hair stops. This is about a good, what, 20-ish or more inches, I think. You have to look at how long it started off being. Go in and cut just a tad bit more at the same angle, at the same length. We're not going no higher than this. We're not going no higher than 4 inches from where the hair stops. Go to the end of the hair, measure about 4 inches. There we go. Okay. Just trying to measure from our first piece. Comb this through until we don't have no more hair that's been shedding from us cutting it. Is left as much as we possibly can. Pulling out some of these flyaways. Our new section. Bam. Hold on. There we go. Okay. And we cut just underneath. Okay. We just comb it through, right in that area where we cut, to catch all that shedded hair from us cutting it. Got ourselves another section slightly smaller. So I'll show you what to do with slightly smaller sections. Cut in an angle, very light hand. This is something you don't want to do heavy handed, especially at the back portion. No, ma'am. Mm-mm. Detangle. Cut your layer, then detangle again to catch that shedded hair you just cut. I think I was a little heavy-handed with this, the start of this piece. It's okay. I don't edit out mistakes. Okay. And then when this one combined with the left and the right hand side is going to flow very well because you're keeping the integrity of the length of the hair at the back. Because what good is if you cut too high? You gotta put more hair in it to fix it. You gotta sew another track in here, or in this case, crochet more hair to fix it. Or cut more hair and make it shorter to match the length of what you messed up. And it's okay if you mess up, I just want y'all to know that. Ooh, I cut that too blunt. I didn't cut that all the way at an angle. Let's fix that. There we go, fixed. So what happens when you cut lower than you normally would? If you cut too high, you could fix it, but then it's gonna look, you're gonna be able to tell. Even if you don't care what people think, you personally, you gonna be able to tell. I'm just doing smaller sections till I run out of, till I get to the end of the hair of this back section. I'm using my very first piece as a measuring point for that. It's coming in handy, thank God. Cut almost to the ends of the hair where it stops. You're working at the back section here. And then on the sides too. But the back of the hair specifically, that's a must. Especially the back of the hair. I'm just gonna shape it just a little bit. Yep, I'll shape it just a little bit. That's all we need to do. And we're still in a way through like thinning it out, but you're not losing the length. This is the best way to thin it out without losing length. I think it goes without saying that you probably done had a haircut where they done cut a little bit too much length, but it's still too thick. So, hey, everybody make mistakes, but just make sure you're communicating with your stylist, or if you are your stylist, you practice so you get better. I don't want you to be afraid of mistakes. That means you're not going to get better if you stop trying. The Bible says that I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. That's why we're at the point we're at now, where I know how to do this pretty okay. And y'all see me go through it with 2 wigs. Now I made my mistakes on this blonde one, but I'm making up for it on the purple and black one. See how that works? Okay. Alright, so this is our piece here. We'll be done with the back section after this. Now, measure about 4 inches from the ends of the hair. Measure 4 inches from about where, measure 4 inches from where the hair stops. Cut at an angle with a very light hand, diagonally at an angle. Okay. Just making sure. When you see me combing through several times like that, I want to get that shedded hair that we just cut. So it still feels relatively thick. We have kept the integrity of the hair, meaning the length and the thickness. We just thinned it out a little bit, that's all. Now, and I know most of y'all seeing the scissors and getting nervous. I'm not cutting the length. I'm layering it out. This technique helps you layer the hair, keep the thickness, but also keep the length. That's the goal. Ain't no way I'm doing all this work and then sit up here and cut it real high, cut it real short. What? No. No, ma'am. So I'm just reminding those of you that kind of get nervous and get the, what is she doing? I'm thinning out the ends of the hair. Now naturally you're going to lose some length, but that length should not be, it should not be me cutting this high, okay? Nope. Okay. There we go. So now, this is what we're looking at. Hair is still thick. It stands out a bit. Looks shiny. It looks healthy. Mind you, this is all synthetic hair. And it's layered to perfection. And the reason why it's clumping together really good, looking healthy, is because we applied shea butter just a few hours ago to the rest of the wig. Okay, so if you're just joining, you're gonna need a notepad to run this back. So that way you can learn the best way as to how to layer a synthetic wig regardless of texture. Clothes is the only thing left that we need to layer. I don't know when I'll be back, but I'll definitely be back. You know what to do. The button's somewhere on the screen if you would not like to miss the continuation of this.